All right, we will jump in. I'm going to share my screen, but appreciate everyone who has joined today to talk about all things empowering departments, supporting students, and of course the buzzword we all know and love, which is AI, and specifically what we're doing here at Satisfi and our great partnership with TouchNet. So I'll hand it over to Erin, and we'll do some quick introductions on who you'll be learning from today.
All right. Hey, everyone. Thanks for joining us to learn today. My name is Aaron Epps. I am a manager of business development here at TouchNet, and I focus on our partner programs, but more specifically, our partnership with Satisfi Labs.
Awesome. Thanks, Erin. On my side, Stephanie Horner, and I've been with Satisfi Labs almost 6 years now. Originally brought in to build and lead the client management team, but now function on our partnership side. Prior to this, worked for about 7 years within the collegiate space in a multitude of areas, international students, admissions, student development, and on the athletic side as well. So one of the biggest pieces I want to note as we are going into this conversation is I am not naturally a tech savvy individual. And there was a running joke at our company that if I could understand what we were doing technically, then any of our clients could. And I say that if you are coming into the conversation today with any sort of hesitancy or concern that you need a strong technical understanding of AI to see what we're doing, what like kind of really take it and move it forward, you do not. You're in a good spot for us to be able to have this conversation and shift into why we're here. So the main piece is AI is a thing. Most of us would assume that you, as a department, as a person, already know this. And the desire to use AI as a tool is something that's becoming very popular, and it's also something that people are very comfortable with. Gen Z, of course, is a huge one to note, and kind of a lot of the students that we are talking about working with and their families from a day-to-day perspective. But whether that's asking Siri what the weather's going to be like, all the way to asking ChatGPT to help you draft an email, that comfortability is continuing to rise. And not only is there comfort in it, there is preference in it. People are wanting to be able to communicate with brands, whether that's on the sports, entertainment, tourism, higher education, consumer. They want to be able to talk to you, and making it really easy for them to do so is to your advantage. So, what does this mean for you, for your department? Expectations from students and their parents, I would always put a little asterisk in there, and their parents are higher and faster than they've ever been before. They're looking for those immediate answers. They're looking for mobile-friendly asks, mobile-friendly access to you, and being able to get tasks, things like that done while they're on the go, and 24/7 support and access to that kind of information. In every industry, as an example that we work with at Satisfi, about 40% of conversations that take place in our platform are taking place after normal working hours. So if you think about it, I always make the reference, I am paying my bills at 8 o'clock at night while I'm watching Friends. That's my time to be able to do a lot of these administrative things that maybe a student needs or a parent needs to do. So being available 24/7 has become really critical. And if someone does have a question after those working hours, what do? They might ask the question directly. They might try to find it on your website, email you, or at the end of the day, they say, shoot, I have to deal with that later. And then that task is not completed, which in this case could be really beneficial for your department to have them complete. The reality, and again, none of this is new, these are things you probably are already dealing with on a daily basis, is how do we handle that as a team, as a department, especially during those peak times, start of semester, or kind of as you have deadlines and things coming up, how can you more proactively manage that influx that will come in, or messaging that you want to go out to those that you're trying to communicate with? And now I'm going to shift over to Erin. You will find as we're going today, we're going to do a couple polls, a couple things like that to be a little bit more interactive, make sure that what we're talking about is relevant for you. But I always joke we are words of affirmation people. In this case, it's emojis of affirmation. So I know we've got a lot going on, but feel free to enter questions in the chat as we're going. Want to make sure that we can answer those, and we'll make sure to leave time at the end for Q&A as well. So with that, we'll get going with this first poll, and Aaron will walk through that.
All right. So during peak periods, think payment deadlines, the start of a semester, or move-in, we want you to describe your department's daily phone call volume. So is it fewer than 50 calls per day? Is it around 50 to 150 calls per day? Or are you seeing on a higher end more than 150 calls to your department per day during these peak periods on campus?
All right. Give it a few more seconds to get those in. I always wish we had some sort of music in the background to elevator music while people are going through this part.
All right. I think we're ready to share the results.
Perfect. So then here we go.
Wow.
Yep, exactly that.
And when we think about how this compounds over a year, if you're in between that, 50 to 150 calls per day, say we take that 100 number, you're typically seeing around 30,000 calls per year. So that 100 calls per day kind of equating to 30,000 per year in your office. And so next,
All right. Next one.
we have a second poll. So we already talked about phone call volume. Let's think about email management. So on a weekly basis, what does your department's email management look like? Think, hey, we get through our emails daily, or we have a few that are still pending, or lastly, we have a sizable amount that we just don't have the bandwidth to get to.
Cue your second round of elevator music here. All right.
Okay. Okay. So we're seeing more of an even split here, 1/3, um, in each area, but of course still that the few dozen pending emails carrying into the next day really being our chief response. So next we want to talk about what managing this phone call and email volume can look like on your campus with of course the support of Satisfi Labs.
Thanks, Aaron. So yeah, as you said, most of these are things that we are dealing with. Phone calls, emails, that's an example of kind of one of the areas where we work to immediately alleviate from a department perspective, among a few other things that we'll chat through. But what this really notes is every missed message, there's a cost associated. And we know that whether it's someone missing a payment deadline that's now taking up more of your time to have to continuously follow up, having some issues that could lead to an enrollment change, student expectations we walk through. Again, these are just pieces that we have heard, whether it's this industry and beyond. And staff burnout is one that I would say across the board. As someone who has been the person answering calls many times, it's usually the same 10 questions that are making up 70% of the day. How can we help alleviate that to also create more enjoyment in the work that you're doing and free up time so that the conversations that you're having are the ones where you should be, because they have a little bit more complexity to them. So as we're talking about this and our platform in general, one of the biggest pieces I'd like to note and make sure can be helpful is AI is not a solution to everything. It should be thought of and utilized as a tool to solve problems and alleviate problems for your team, for your department. And that's really why we're here and what we're chatting through. So looking at this next, and again, from the polls that we just did, what if you could automate up to 75% of those emails that are coming in, of those phone calls that are coming in? And when it comes to bill payment in that process, what if you never had to touch it? In that, if they had to make a payment, they had a question about when things were due, or how to change access information, any of those pieces, knowing that a lot of that could be handled without you ever needing to really jump in and assist, and they were doing it in moment, completing that task. That brings us to Satisfi. So who we are, what we do, I'll keep this very brief. We are an AI chat platform. We help universities do exactly what we've mentioned, reduce call and email volume, enhance the student experience, enhance the experience for parents and guardians and others who are looking to navigate all these different elements that they don't necessarily do on a day-to-day basis, helping drive on-time payments, deliver faster, support, and as well as across multiple departments, which is something that we'll get into as well. So when it comes to what we do and the quick credibility moment, we've been doing this a long time, almost 10 years now. We have been building AI chat functionality to solve these problems in a multitude of industries. So we've built a little over 2,500 of these platforms. It is in no means our first time doing anything. What that really looks like for you is everything we have is best practice. We really know what we're doing. We know how to do it well and design things that are built to help solve those issues that you've communicated to us. And we have a little over 800 clients at this point that we've been doing it with. This is a quick image on the right. We'll certainly go into some more as well, but visuals throughout I know can be really helpful and showing where and how we live within and for a brand or department. But the bigger pieces here, and we'll shift to Aaron in just a second to talk about our great partnership with TouchNet within global payments. But we are working with the best of the best. We build this for your industry specifically. This is meant to help your department separate from a different department, even at the same university. You will see that look and feel as we continue. And the last piece to note here is measurable results. So not talking about hypotheticals, but how do we reduce and automate 75% of your emails? Those are the kind of metrics that we want to talk about because it's much easier to take that and really show the ROI very quickly versus, yeah, I think they helped answer some questions. So those are a lot of pieces that we will hone in on today as well.
All right. So how did we create this partnership? So Satisfi and Global Payments, our parent company, they initially connected several years ago through shared relationships with prominent brands, including Satisfi's partner, Ticketmaster, and one of their clients and investors, Major League Baseball. This connection provided greater insight into Satisfi's product capabilities, but also its impact in higher education. And at the time, that impact had been concealed mainly to college athletics. And so discussions evolved in exploring exactly how Satisfi's capabilities could be expanded to broader campus needs. And so this led to our inaugural implementation there that you'll see at the University of Alabama. And so they, once again, moving from just a college athletics conversation, they were able to integrate Satisfi with their student account services department. And as Stephanie will discuss shortly, the success that we've seen at Alabama really has served as a launch pad for campus expansion.
Absolutely. Thanks, Aaron. So what that looks like here is a quick example, and we've noted we've been in the space a long time. I think I saw very briefly that there's a couple folks from Auburn as an example. We're actually already on your campus on the athletics side, and that was initially where we started before we started expanding through this partnership with TouchNet into the campus side of things. So I had a few fun conversations at Comtech with TouchNet a couple weeks ago where I got to say, actually, we already exist where you are, but just wanted to flag that for some of the conversations as well and note where we've been and where you may have seen us. As a quick example here, this is kind of going back to that exact origin story that Aaron just shared and why we were able to really launch this partnership with within TouchNet back then. How quickly we saw these ROI or this ROI and those measurable results. So I mentioned it before. You should be able to create metrics and solve problems and show how you're solving those problems anytime you're using an AI tool. This is absolutely the case. So we mentioned, what if you could automate 75% of your phone calls? It's exactly what we did at Alabama. Within the first year of launching there, we reduced 78% in call volume, solely by existing there, working with the team, and being able to understand what questions are coming through, how do we continue to make it better, and in turn as well, having about 45% of those questions after business hours answered. So if you think about all of the polls that we just did and calls, emails that you get in, not even taking into account how many do you think would have been coming in from a phone call outside of normal hours that there was never room to even gauge. So we've had a great time working with that team and expansion there, and as I said, some exciting facts we'll also share after the webinar today to be able to look at that full case study of what we did with University of Alabama. As a quick example, and again, breaking down what the platform looks like and how we do that, here are some visuals of what it would look like if you were to go to the student account services area of the website today. This is also something that, again, is available on mobile. We always like to make sure people know about 60% of the time people are engaging on your website on mobile. So how are we making that as user-friendly as possible and taking it not only from answering their question, but shifting it into a conversation proactively. If you're asking about making a payment or when a payment is due, being able to not only answer it, but say, do you actually want to go through with that payment right now? Let me show you how. And Erin's going to walk through that demonstration in just a second so you can see the screenshots of what that looks like. But these are four of the main features that are built into that conversational design for you. The first, automated support, fairly straightforward, but you'll see that is a continued feature and functionality. Being able to do the pay and chat, that's exactly what Erin will walk through a little bit more in a second. Live escalation. This is a piece that is included in the platform should your team want to use it. So an example of that would be, hey, there's a certain topic. I know I was just talking with one of our recent onboarding clients right now about, hey, we have this new military benefits program that we are now in charge of. And it's one that it's nuanced enough and it's new enough that anytime someone asks about it, maybe we want to just escalate to a live person and escalate to someone on our team. Being able to do that for certain topics, if you'd like, is something that is an option. We also have plenty of clients who say, you know what? No, we're going to see how it looks without. And instead, if people do want to talk to a live agent, we can route them to this very specific process that we already have in place. And then the last piece here is outbound outreach. So this is something that we're able to do if you have, let's say, certain times of year, you want to push out reminders that bill payments are due and being able to have someone tap on a link and be able to go on their phone and immediately go through that process. You can also push some messaging out for those very specific campaigns where you have that massive influx throughout the year. All right. And then this is really going to walk through
Great.
the payment process.
And a key innovation in our partnership is this seamless TouchNet integration. So it enables students to complete their payments directly within the conversational interface. So here's how it works. Let's start left. We'll go left to right. So the student selects the path to make a payment as an authorized user on their account. Then, through an embedded login system, the student logs into their account without being directed away from the chat experience. The student then gains access to the TouchNet portal, viewing their balance and the option to make and submit a payment instantly right where they are. So the streamlined approach, it really delivers two critical benefits. Number one is that there's a reduction in a multi-step portal navigation process, right? It's all here within the chat interface. And then number two, and more importantly for you, this is a zero-touch payment collection process for your teams. So you have not had to be required to be involved at all in this student making their payment. And then the next slide. Here, this slide mainly demonstrates our bidirectional communication between systems. So on the right, when a student initiates a payment of $1 through their chat interface, that transaction is instantly reflected in the PayPath payment services that you see on the left. So you can see that $1 charge appearing in the transaction details. You have what the student ID, the term being credited, and the exact amount right there. So this is real-time synchronization and data integrity. This is where the student is receiving immediate confirmation that their payment has been processed, but also the campus, so business offices, they have instant visibility to those transactions that are flowing from the conversational channel.
Perfect. And I do think this is a great moment to pause and also mention how this really looks from a payment perspective and security side. One of the biggest questions we get is, great, is Satisfi, are you PCI compliant? How are you handling all this information, this data you're receiving, those pieces? It's very simplistic in nature. The best way to think about it is this is the TouchNet system, and all we're doing is embedding it in our space,
Right.
meaning everything that's being put in here, typing in, logging in, all of that information is still sitting within the TouchNet system. It's just living within our chat functionality versus on the website that you would look at. So it makes it a very clean experience, and always happy. And at the end, when we do Q&A, if there's any other questions about that or other security pieces, happy to answer. But I always want to note that because I think it's probably one of the coolest pieces that we are doing together in our partnership. But it also can have that immediate question, and wanted to proactively answer that for the group. A few other pieces here, as I mentioned, that we are working in live escalation. We've talked about, same with outbound outreach, which you'll see an example on in that screenshot on the right. Customized branding flows. Flows is a really big one that has been incredibly beneficial for our clients in this space. And what that looks like is, if someone's coming into to have that conversation, how do we proactively know? If I were to ask anyone on this call right now, what are the top 3 to 5 things you're getting questions about right now? Proactively creating space for that in the chat immediately when people go into it, to be able to say, hey, do you need help making a payment, understanding a deadline? That's going to fluctuate during different times of year, and we can make those adjustments. One of the biggest ones I heard recently at Comtech a few weeks ago was the concept of, how do I know my payment went through? I just want to confirm that I paid. I don't know anything else. My student's not going to get kicked out of their dorm, which I completely understand. And so having that proactively in the space and knowing, hey, because you asked about this, here's a few other things you might need to ask. And it really helps people articulate the questions they have when we can proactively have it built into the conversational design. The other piece I want to note here is multi-language. Our platform has over 50 languages and dialects to be able to interpret. So if you're thinking about international students, or where there is any sort of language barrier, especially for guardians or parents who are coming in and knowing this is a really important piece of what they're doing, and making sure these things are covered, being able to do so in that respective language can provide a lot of ease and a lot of kind of a seamless feel to what they're looking at, and that enhanced experience for them. And then the last piece I'll note here is advanced analytics. So being able to understand, what are the questions that are being asked from your team? How are they asking them? Is there language that we should adjust on our website because students refer to this form as this really frequently, and we want to make sure that we're making it as accessible as possible. Really digging into the analytics behind the usage of this platform can be incredibly beneficial for the team to continue to better the department and know where you want to make changes.
So the key to our platform approach is flexibility. So you can start with one department and grow from there. So say that for the past few academic years, the student accounts department has been experiencing a annual increase in payment increase. So campuses can implement the AI agent with their own specific content and workflows, and it will deliver immediate ROI to the student accounts office, right? The students, they have 24/7, 365 access to payment information, and to instant answers to their questions, and your team, they will experience a reduction in those routine questions. But the goal here is that through sharing that ROI that you're seeing, more departments begin to come online and the real value emerges. Because it is the same platform, adding a new department is straightforward and it builds on an existing foundation. So the platform creates ultimately a virtual one-stop experience for students. And here you have transformed one department's pain point into an institution-wide solution. For administrators, this means a single source of truth and visibility into what Stephanie will talk about next, which is the complete student journey. But we also want to take a minute here to talk about our recent experience implementing this at Oklahoma State University, their main campus here in Stillwater, Oklahoma.
Absolutely. I saw there were a couple of folks from the team on the call, so had to give them a shout out today. But as one of the questions that surfaced with us recently, and again, this happens very frequently on the campus side, is, hey, we're getting a lot of questions around our department. We're also starting, or we might be getting questions, and we get questions for other departments that we're connected to in one way or another. This ability to be able to say, look, if there's a ton of people that are asking about, let's say, the admissions process for one reason or another to your department, being able to say, hey, let's send them there for now and make sure we're directing to the correct department that owns that information, but also being able to actually have their own conversational design and platform built for that department where the student, without ever having to leave the situation they're sitting in and that conversational experience, we can actually say, hey, actually, let's connect you with the AI agent from the admissions department. And they can continue that discussion, get the answer and information that they need. And it's not the information you need to own, it's ones that they own. And that's how you know it's correct and the content is really strong. So it's a very seamless um, structure when it's built out, and a way to say, hey, let's make sure we're owning our stuff. But the more we can group everyone together, it's a win-win-win for everyone included. So appreciate that they had brought that up this week, because we get it all the time, and it's always nice when it's a really relevant piece to be able to chat through. As Aaron mentioned, this is kind of an example of that connected journey for your student. So being able to subscribe for some of that outbound outreach that we talked about, being able to say, yes, I actually do want to learn about when my payments are due, or when I should be reminded of these things. Being able to receive those notifications that don't just say something like, hey, reminder, your bill is due, but do you actually want to pay it right now? Tap here on their phone. One of the biggest areas of kind of, I think, excellence within this partnership and what TouchNet has helped enable us to do is, if you're sitting on the main website, or if you're going into this conversation from a text reminder, being able to really open up that payment immediately to be able to make it, versus we're going to reroute you to a different area. We're basically bringing that TouchNet system exactly and meeting the student or parent where they are. So a really strong process for them to be able to ask questions if they have any questions. And again, understanding the natural language. I'm sure everyone on this department knows that the same question could be asked with 200 different ways, and most of them are probably not the actual technical terminology for what they're looking to do, and you're interpreting that and able to do that. That's what our platform is going to help you do. Being able to connect to that live support should they need it, make that payment that they need to do, and have that follow up to say, thank you so much. Anything else we can help you with? Do you want us to set a reminder for when it's due next semester? And kind of really taking that experience and making it feel fluid throughout the student's journey. And now we're going to go into our last poll question, no more than 3, but understanding from who you are and coming in today, do you feel strongly that there's a certain area of campus that could most benefit, and understanding that difference between the two? So we'll give you a couple seconds to have the elevator needed music to answer. All right, let's see. We'll see what came in here. Perfect. All right. Yep. So this is very similar. I think especially based on this partnership and what we're doing, the value add on these account services, the Bursar side, it's very clear. And there's certain pieces we're diving into. How can we do this on the admission side, the dining side, using one card, and some of these pieces, housing especially. how can we help combine those to be fluid? So makes sense. All right, so the last piece to really note here before we go into Q&A is onboarding. This is another one of the biggest questions that we get early on in the process, especially when you put the word AI with it. It sounds daunting. It sounds like it's going to be a massive technical lift, a massive process for our team. It is not. That's the short form version, but we have been doing this for a very long time. And if there's others you'd like a kind of recommendation or to speak to someone who's going through our onboarding process right now, you can certainly reach out and we will make sure to connect you. But we launch majority of our clients between 30 and 60 days. The main reason for that is we come to your kickoff call with your platform built. All we ask you to do is test it, tell us how you want to tweak it, make any adjustments that are really that are really nuanced for you. But we don't need your FAQs. We don't need any of those pieces. We have really everything that we need to build a really strong start. And from there, if there's things you want to provide that we will include, we do. So that's kind of the three simple steps is the easiest way that I can phrase it. But most of the work, especially with embedding that integration with TouchNet, we handle. We take care of all of those pieces for you, and it's a process that we're very proud of as part of our keeping that seamless, not only for a student or a parent, but also for you as a client to potentially come into. It's also very similar to what we'll chat about at the end here, which is, what some next steps look like. If you are interested in learning more and booking a time to be able to see, we will actually come to that conversation with a demo built for you specifically in your department. So we know that visuals and really seeing the look and feel is such a big part of making this a tangible tool for you. So it's something that we like to prioritize as a brand in general. So with that, we will go into some Q&A now, questions that have surfaced during the conversation, anything you want to learn more about, happy to share. And while we're doing that, as we said, if you want to learn more information on, hey, here's how many calls we get, on a monthly basis or a yearly basis, here's how many emails, can you tangibly show us what ROI looks like with numbers and metrics I can bring internally? We can do that. We also, as I said, if you set up some time or have an interest in learning more, we will come to that conversation with a demo specifically for you and your department to be able to do the same. So I'll leave the QR code there, but any questions or topics that people want us to cover more in depth?
Hey, Stephanie,
Yeah.
there maybe been two questions that have come in, one in the chat and then one in the Q&A. And so could you talk a bit more to how we ensure data privacy and security?
Yes, absolutely. Great question. I apologize with my screen share. I can't see questions coming in, so thank you for flagging that. I
No
should
worries.
have something as well in our, and here we go. Haha. This is a big one. As we said, we proactively have this at the ready to be able to talk about data privacy, where that information exists. So when it comes to the actual payment information, just reiterating again, all of that is being done specifically within the TouchNet system. So that is protected. That's not anywhere in Satisfi's data that you would be looking at as a client in your dashboard analytics. When it comes to the rest of the analytics that are included there, information of intent or what kind of questions they're asking, where are they coming from, what are the topics, all of that, that is accessible to your team. That is not going anywhere else. We don't have any sort of kind of place that's being sent to. It's really for your team and your team only. I also like to note that if someone accidentally puts in information, which is things that happen, for example, on the sports side of our business, you can frequently get fans who will just throw their credit card number in there. Those pieces are actually blanked out within even our own database for security purposes. So some of these are up here of the moderation, security, intent. If someone says anything that is concerning, we have an automatic security process built in for that. We also have the ability to acknowledge extra consent when people are engaging within the platform, but the data itself is quite protected based on, I always joke, but we have every acronym of security that's built in addition to thinking about the data and where we sit. Google is a major investor. They're on our board, and kind of all things protection of data is massive there. We also, my joke is if we can get beyond the security of Major League Baseball, we can get beyond the security of anybody within that space. And lastly, we also are the only approved generative fan-facing AI platform that's approved to work with the NFL. So when it comes to the data, where it exists and how it exists, we can always go in further for specific questions, but you are quite protected in that way.
Awesome. And we've had a few questions also come in the chat that some that maybe I could better take because they do more so focus on taking payments. The example that we gave on in the slides earlier was for like an authorized user, which an example of that may be a parent. And students also do have that payment path to make a payment as a student. What we wanted to emphasize was honestly the community nature of the conversational experience, that it can meet the needs of a student as well as a parent. All right, next we have,
Oh, actually, Aaron, the one piece I'll note on that as well, as I mentioned flows, those guided flows earlier, and proactively anticipating the questions coming in, for a lot of our campuses, what you will see in that welcome message of, hey, I'm the Student Account Services virtual assistant. How can I help you today? We will actually ask them to note who they are. Are you a parent or guardian? Are you a student? Are you an international student? Other. And based on that, we can also cater that experience further and kind of moving forward through that conversational design. So I just wanted to flag that early as well.
absolutely. Is there any validation in the Satisfy Labs chat system to ensure the customer inquiry is an authorized user or a student? And I think that's what you're saying there. So from the beginning, to actually generate that payment path, there will be an actual question as to the identity of who is interacting with the chat experience. So if you are a student or a parent, and then you'll be able to communicate from there. And then it's saying we don't want messaging to be sent to non-authorized users. And that is a protection of this chat experience, right? So because that login will be required, if it isn't a parent, if it isn't a student, that there will not be, just similar to how currently, like on PayPath, a non-authorized user could not experience making a payment, it would provide that same protection.
Correct.
All right, I understand the focus, and we've got a few questions, so we do have to get through these. I understand the focus of this presentation was your integration with TouchNet. However, will the Satisfy chatbot be able to answer general questions like billing policies, business hours, where to mail scholarship checks?
Yep, absolutely. So I would say what we've been doing for the 10-year span or so is in the most simplistic level, conversationalizing your FAQs. So how can we take the questions you receive and interpret them and answer them as best as possible and turn that question into a conversation? Meaning, hey, you asked about XYZ policy. Here's the answer. By the way, since you asked about this, you may want to know about this and education. So really taking in any question that surfaces to your brand, answering it really well. If it has to do with a payment functionality like we're talking about, the real difference between us versus anything else on the market is we can actually take it fully to payment completion, and no one else can do that.
My understanding of the purpose of these AI chat platforms is to up customer satisfaction, so increase customer satisfaction. How does that measure against the large amounts of frustration and dissatisfaction people tend to feel when they get an AI agent instead of a real person? Like, no one says, thank God it's an AI chatbot. But everyone has said or felt the opposite. Okay. Um,
Mm-hmm. It's a
yeah, so maybe
great question.
be the live agent.
I'm so happy that you asked this. Yes. So there's a few pieces of learnings that we've had. And I will also, and anyone on our leadership team will note, we've been around long enough. We've done everything the wrong way too. And that's why I say we've got best practices in place now that really serve to benefit the audience. So there's a couple pieces to that. The first is what you will see, even in our messaging as a brand, we will never use the word, or you will very rarely see us use the word chatbot because there is a negative connotation that it is dumb and not helpful and will take you in circles. And that is not what we're looking at. And again, that's one where we say, go test our platform. I promise you will be very pleasantly surprised in the way that we built and navigate that design for you. The second is being proactive. What you will see in majority of our platforms in that initial welcome message is, hi, it could be a very creative branding if you wanted to give it its own character, but say, I'm so and so, your virtual agent or your virtual assistant or XYZ bot, and I'm here to help you. So we will make it very clear immediately, hey, this is a platform where you're initially not going to be talking to a person. Depending on the brand itself, the prioritization of being able to talk to a live person is something we can make as easy or difficult as you like. We have certain brands that in the welcome message, there's a button right below it that says, take me to a live person, because that demographic or audience they found really want to engage with a live person. We also can serve that up topically. So depending on the topic, or if we're sensing, look, based on the message that comes in, maybe someone looks like they're complaining or using some not great word choice, for example, we can say, hey, looks like you might be frustrated. Would you like to talk to a live person? We ideally don't get to that point, but we certainly can loop in there. So I will tell you, you are not alone with that thought. We've done a very, very good job for a long time in overcoming that stereotype and happy to show you exactly how.
And I think on the note of monitoring chat history and being able to see trends in user engagement, can you talk a bit to our analytics dashboard? We had Stephen M in the chat, really wanting to know more about reports that we could see based off of any chat engagement.
Yes, absolutely. So, our reporting, we call it zero party data because it is raw. It is coming directly in from the students, from the parents, and understanding what they're asking. And a great example of that is we can tell you exactly how many people asked to speak with a live agent. If that number is really low, then people often say, you know what, let's not turn it on, but let's make sure that we're flagging it or sending them to a very specific email or telling them a number to call in moment if they want to talk to a live person. If that number's high, maybe it's something that they consider adding in. So the data, a lot of what our clients hear me say all the time is let the data tell you where to put that work in. So on the live escalation side, reporting can be incredibly helpful in understanding what next steps to take. But from a data perspective in general, reporting analytics, we have, I would say, two different types of high level data. One is going to have a ton of visuals, and I jokingly say it's the more visually aesthetic data. It's going to tell you questions coming in on versus off hours, how many conversations took place versus how many messages took place versus were they coming in from an email you sent out, what was the point of entry into the conversation if you surface us in a lot of different ways, and really granular on the actual, we call intent data, meaning what were they asking about? What was the intent behind their question? The easiest way to think about that is what topics were they asking about at an incredibly granular level? How did that vary last month versus this month versus certain periods of time? So it gets incredibly specific. If you're interested in the data side, I would highly recommend, I'll go back to it here. Highly recommend, we love going into the data and showing you everything that is there. Our goal is to make sure you have it as bite-sized as possible, or the second part, which is as granular as possible. You can do a lot of good stuff, and we have API endpoints to drop that reporting in anywhere you like as well.
And we maybe have three questions. I'll take on one just while you have
Okay.
this slide up. It's asking, and then I'll toss you two, more about maybe if there are any costs associated with the Satisfy Labs conversational experience platform. And so by scanning this QR code, we will be able to discuss next steps. We'd love to meet with your campus, with your department, and better provide not only a demo of how this would work within your environment, but also more compelling ROI metrics around how an investment in this platform could benefit your department. And so certainly, take this QR code down. Next, you kind of mentioned a bit more, and Aliona has also added a new chat which says, "Hey, schedule a personalized demo with Stephanie and the TouchNet team." That is actually a
Yeah.
calendar link, and so you can identify the time that works for you for us to engage your team in a personalized demo. Now, you just were Stephanie, kind of talking about the um, integrations. You talked a lot about API endpoints. And that has been a repetitive theme in our questions. So we'll go with that as the first. Some attendees have mentioned integrations like Lucian Banner, StarRes for housing, Slate for admissions, or even moving their email from Outlook to Salesforce. So could you talk about how we integrate into a lot of those third parties?
Yeah, absolutely. And I will touch on very lightly two other pieces just that we covered in those questions right before. The first one I wanted to note is price. The main piece I want to mention here is we're not it's not something we're going to hide by any means or make you work very difficult to get. The price point just varies depending on what your solution is and exactly how many departments, all those kinds of things. So what I want to note is if you do schedule time, you'll receive numbers on that call. We just don't want to throw random numbers out there because the situation is different depending on each university and what their needs are. Second piece, I want to mention again, if you do set up time, I will pull directly your rep from TouchNet in. So don't worry about needing to connect all the dots or anything. If you schedule time, I know exactly who you work with, and I will make sure to connect them for our next conversation. The third piece around integrations. So because we've been around a long time, we love integrations. We think they make life better. They make life more seamless. Exactly why we're talking today, because of the benefits of doing that and being able to really complete the task as an agent, if you want to use the terminology that way. So for us, in the way that we move forward with integrations, is really understanding the needs. What you'll see in a lot of our messaging, whether it's our website or I think even the Meet Satisfy Lab slide, built by your industry for your industry. The way that we start pulling in integrations like the ones that Aaron was just referencing is based on feedback from our clients like you. So understanding, hey, great, we're up and functioning. We would love to pull this in. Now we've got you excited because people are making payments. We want to pull this in. We want to pull this in. The more that we understand where's the value for you, that's where our team then goes in, meets, and prioritizes pulling that information in to continuously improve and enhance that experience. So there's a multitude, and at Comtech, we certainly chatted through kind of all the different pieces that we can be doing moving forward as we see the ROI increase and understanding what's going to bring the biggest benefit to you. We're open to exploring all of those.
Awesome. And just discussing the process and the key considerations involved in preparing the data from the end user standpoint, specifically outside of TouchNet and at scale across different departments. So maybe this is more so asking, can you go back to a lot of how are we actually programming?
Yeah, perfect. I'm happy to, and I will keep it as high level as I can. Again, we can go 8 miles deep, but I'm going to keep it surface for the group here. There's really four main components that make up your AI agent. The first is the feed information, if there are any, multiple feeds, singular feed. We've talked about today and currently what we're doing with the TouchNet payment platform. So that's the first part. The second is live escalation, should you choose to include it. Again, very straightforward. The second two, that was a weird way to hold my hand. The second two that are there is pre-written responses and generative responses. And what that means is a pre-written response is what you've seen for years and years and years. It's why we've been doing AI for so long. I asked this question, no matter how I asked it, I'm getting this word for word answer. These are topics that a client has really specific word choice, or your PR team really wants to make sure you answer carefully this exact way. There's going to be a certain number of topics that will have a pre-written response associated. Majority is going to sit in that second bucket, or excuse me, fourth bucket, which is generative content. This is the information that we're getting from your website, from any documentation you do want to provide to us that if you think about the word scrape, we have a lot of different methods in which we scrape that information and continuously surface it and be able to share that forward. So those are really the four main components. the generative part is what's made AI so popular over the last couple of years. It's a lot of rich content, and it's something that we do very well. So it's also why we don't need really anything from you going into the build. We just might double check, hey, just want to make sure what information on your website or kind of what URLs, what pages do you want to make sure are included. Most of the time it's pretty straightforward, but um, that's the very high level makeup of your platform itself.
Got it. And so just maybe two last questions. Where we are standing now is kind of, can you give a range of price, for a general idea to present this to the school? And I know earlier I kind of, maybe glossed over this, but it really does vary, but it is an affordable pricing model that will be based off of the enrollment at the university. And also, as you mentioned before, there are, many different components. So whether the school is looking at the AI agent, the live agent, or of course, experience with marketing for campaign management. But Stephanie, I don't know if you want to, if you have that sort of general number, but I will say for most schools who are looking at the AI agent, as a landing place on their university, based on their enrollment, it like I said before, a very affordable pricing model.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other piece that I would note there, which kind of alludes to some of the multi-department element as well, and why again we hold on some of those depending on interest, is the more departments that are included, the price point per department goes down. So
Yeah.
if you're looking as a singular department versus, hey, Steph, I booked a meeting, I want to see what this looks like, and I'm going to bring XYZ department and XYZ department, totally changes the game. So understanding that there's those variables and pieces that we're talking about, but that is one of the benefits of helping loop folks in, or even saying, hey, look, we've been a client for a year and we love this platform. We've been saying good things, and now we'd love for our price point to go down. So let's bring in some others, and that's going to bring it down. So that's just another piece and kind of element as to why it sounds a little bit vague in nature.
Yeah. I think just the last thing that we want to stress, because there was a question about MFA, was once again, especially when on that pay, I think this was the payment slide where we showed, oh, the student logging in. This is all going to be actual like TouchNet. So it is not, that information is not being like passed through to Satisfy Labs. Once again, we want to ensure that that this is made clear. It's simply just like a form of technology that creates like a responsive design window where instead of leaving to go to a different URL, the student will have access to the payment information within that, to the payment portal within that window. And so that's what we, once again, all TouchNet payment portal information not actually being communicated to Satisfy, just within that actual user face, so that the student doesn't have to navigate outside of it.
Exactly that. I love how both of us, when talking about it, we have to create the box for you. You're like, within the chat window. I don't know why we do that. It's just everyone does when we're explaining it. But yeah, could not have said it better. Any other questions that have come through?
No, I think we're good. I think we are all good, yeah. But if you have any more, just let us know.
Perfect. Yeah, as we said, great next step. If you'd like to learn more, get some more specifics, whether it's the data side, security side, payment side, conversational design side, feel free to set up some time. And as we said, we will come into that conversation with a demo built for you, and as well as your TouchNet team member to be able to come in and have everyone in the loop. So appreciate the time. Thank you so much for being here. And should you have any more questions, we'll send a follow-up from this webinar with some of those next steps as well. All right. Thanks, everyone.